Welcome to Two Maine Friends. We're your hosts,
Natasha
and Lindsey.
Grab your coffee and come sit with us for a bit. We're back.
We are. We had 2 weeks off, which was nice, but also I'm excited to be back and recording.
Yeah, me too. It feels weird having that much time off because usually we're on it. So
Yes, we usually don't like to take a lot of time off. It's nice to be able to take breaks though and come back to it.
for sure. And I think we were ready for a little bit of a break, and we were also able to get some girl time and have a little bit of a getaway for us, which was really nice. And we
Yeah,
hit the big city.
we don't get to do that, so it was nice to just get away, and it gave us some time to regroup on just episode ideas. I feel like we've been running two opposite directions, so it's been hard to nail down the ideas, and we never just want to fabricate something last minute.
True.
Yeah.
True. But today we're going to dive into something that I think is not talked about enough, and that is how some friends in our lives come and go, but they leave us better people. And acknowledging that even though it's a different kind of friend, like the another end of the spectrum for friendship, like I feel like a lot of times we talk about the hard stuff. The things that are hard to overcome or the challenges that face friendship. But today we want to keep it light and dive into how friendship can make us better.
Yeah. I think part of this, just to kind of where the idea came from, we went and saw Wicked in New York, and that was so exciting. And there is a scene where they're separating from each other, the two main characters, and they sing "I'm Better Because of You." And that song just like really stuck out and resonated. So that's kind of where this idea came from.
Yeah. And that part made me so teary because we talked about it afterwards when we got back to the hotel. But I was just sharing with you like how much your relationship has meant to me over the years. And I'm just really thankful for your friendship. And so if I talk about it too much, it makes me emotional. So I don't want to go there right now, but we did have a nice little heart to heart afterwards.
We did. Yeah. No, and it was nice. And I think that it's important to recognize the people that you have now in your life and how they are continually making your life better and how they have made your life better. But like you were saying, there are those friendships that they do split up, they go two different directions, and you can still acknowledge that you're better because of them. And we talk a lot about those friendships that end unexpectedly, and we talk about the sadness that comes with that, the lack of closure and how hard that is. But we've never really talked about the "I'm better because you existed" part of that.
Yeah. And it's important that we do talk about those people because they deserve a moment in the spotlight too, because we always take little bits of people with us when we move on in life. And maybe it's a little habit, maybe it's um, a flavor of a coffee that you've never tried before, but they introduced you to it and now you love it, right? Like it doesn't have to be something huge, but we do take little bits of people with us. And I think that we are better because of those moments, right? Um and so I think it is a good time to just dive into that.
Yeah. So I think for me, like I can remember I did a lot of ministry in my 20s and I met a lot of people through that time. And so every year we had new students. I was a first year, a second year, a third year, and 2 years on staff with one program. And then I transitioned north and I did 2 years on staff with that program. So in 7 years, not all students stayed through every season of the program. So as first year students came in with the first program I was in, we could have anywhere from 10 to 20 new students come in.
Mm.
One year we had 40 of us total through staff, and that was a lot. And I could probably that year name every single person that was there and tell you a little bit about how they contributed to who I am today and
Mm.
the lessons that they taught me through that. And so for me, like, just to name a few of them, but without naming them, um, I have one who always just reminded me that my gifting can be an encourager, but when I'm not walking in my gifts, then I can be very negative. And so it's interesting how like my point of view can shift when I'm talking to someone. I can encourage them and give them all the life and tell them how great they are. But sometimes in my own, I struggle to do that. And they recognize that immediately. They're like, you're so quick to encourage other people, but you can't speak that same life into yourself. Um, and
Mm.
that's like stuck with me for a really long time of knowing that person. And so they just like deposit these little like moments of truth into you. And I think with that too, to kind of be on the back end, like I'm better because of you. Maybe I learned from some of those people what I didn't want to be too. Um,
Mm.
and so I'm better because of that. And it wasn't that the relationship was negative, but maybe they have personality traits that I just didn't jive with or they weren't for me. But I'm better because of it because I learned that and I learned who I wanted to be because of that.
That's such a good point because we can take a lot of different things from people, good and bad. And
Mhm.
um, so when you were like kind of thinking back on some of those relationships, what were some of the good things that you've taken away from them?
Yeah, I think how to love people is a big one. Just the way that different people love people and learning that everybody has a different, well, we've talked about love languages, but that
Yeah.
everybody receives and chooses love differently. And I have one person who is still a good friend of mine today. We knew each other in Florida and we both moved up to New England at the same time and did master's commission together at the same time. And I tell you that that woman has the best hugs, the sweetest spirit, and watching her love people and meeting them where they were at and just stepping back and putting her own biases aside of what was going on in situations and just authentically loving people regardless of what they were walking through or how they were acting or where they were at in life really just inspired me because she could do that for anyone. She could do it for our students, she could do it for someone on the streets. And I just watched her have this way with love that was so gifted and so authentic to me that I always admired that and I always wanted that. But she really taught me to like take a step back and not focus in on the close up picture, but what's the bigger picture around me going on. And that kind of just helps you see into people a little bit better.
That's such a good one.
Mhm.
I wonder how we would look at situations a little bit differently if we would like take a step back and not be so close up. Because when you're close up, you don't see all of the details, right? Like if you put like a puzzle piece or like the picture of the puzzle in front of your face,
Mhm.
like you can only see parts of the puzzle, but when you pull it back, then you get the whole scope, right?
Yeah.
And that's such a great life lesson because we all need to have perspective. And sometimes we do get wrapped up in the things that we're around or we see or we don't see. And taking a step back is huge. That's a great takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah. I think another one that I really settle in on is she was a leader. She's the pastor's wife of the church. And at the time, well, they are pastors of a church now, but at the time they were just directors of the program that I was in. But I considered her friend for many years after that. And we don't talk anymore as much, just life is different. They're in different season. I'm in a different season. But when I do see her, it's always like greeted with the biggest hug and, just that love is mutual for the two of us. But I remember um, also watching her love people authentically. But when it came to gossip, she really instilled something inside of me that I will never forget is that when you say something negative about somebody, she would immediately, if she heard you, turn you around and say, I want you to say three positive things about that person right now. And it changed your mindset on how you looked at the person that you were saying something negative about. And she would do it if you said something negative about yourself too. If you were like, oh, I'm so stupid, she'd be like, now say three nice things about yourself right now. And she'd call you on the spot. And I loved that so much. And then you thought twice about what you were saying when she was in the room.
Oh, for sure. If you know
Yeah.
you're going to be called out on it and held
Yeah.
accountable to what you're saying, you're going to think twice.
Yeah. She just taught me a lot about perspective and that the words that we speak really do alter the perspective of, what we think about people, ourselves, the world around us. And if we're always coming at it from a negative POV, we're going to walk in a negative light all the time. But if we can say something positive about the situation that we're in or the person that we're struggling with, we might begin to see them in a different way.
Oh, it's so true. I
Mhm.
mean, that can be applied to everything about life, right? Not even just the people, but um, keeping a gratitude journal is something that I've tried. I'm not consistent with it, and it's not a real journal. It's just like whenever I think about it, I write down those things with whatever paper I find, right?
Yeah.
But there's been times though that I've needed to do that to like come back to, wait a second, this isn't as terrible as it sounds, right? Like
Right.
there are still things to be thankful for. And yeah, that's another great lesson. What a wise person.
Yeah. Yeah. She's pretty great. What about you? What are some lessons that you've learned from people that you would say have made you better?
Mm, yeah, it is a great question. And I'm really thankful for the experiences in my life that have allowed me to meet so many people. I think in college, I really appreciated being able to develop friendships with so many different kinds of people. Um, and I'm still friends with a few of them still today. And um, one of my closest college friends, we still talk periodically. I think I mentioned her before, but um, she's always just like so steady and um but like never assumes anything of you or expects things like, excuse me, even now, like when we send voice memos and stuff, it could be 3 months in between and she's like, don't apologize for that. Like, and we both live similar lifestyles in the sense that like we're both serving in ministry, and her kids are much smaller than mine, so her season of life is a little bit different. But um I've always just been really thankful that I can be really honest about where I am and know that there's no like judgment, there's no thoughts about that. Like I can just be like, this part of life is really hard right now and this is how I feel about it. And she can come back with like, that's an interesting take. So, like what's what is that? And so I've learned to just be like transparent, I guess, like openly transparent is something that I feel really comfortable to do with her. And that doesn't come naturally for me. So um, to be openly transparent with someone is a gift. It's a gift. And um, I am really thankful for that aspect of our relationship with her. And um, more recently, I've been really encouraged by um, someone I just met a couple of years ago actually, but has like left a huge impact on my life. Um, and just how like she walks you through like and helps you think through where you are. If that makes sense, like asking the right questions to get you like out of a thought process or um when we were talking about the avoidance theory on one of our previous episodes, like, why do you avoid the things that you don't like? She was the one that like really walked me through, well, what do you want to feel instead?
Mm.
And like trying to understand how that works in our brains, like how we think about stuff. And, um, and so she's been really encouraging and really just wise and a very calming presence too. Like she is very easy to talk to and she's just so thoughtful in how she reacts and responds to you. Like she's very intentional about like making eye contact when she talks to you, and so like you just feel really seen
Mm.
and understood. And that is another great gift.
Yeah, I love that. I love that a lot. I like thinking about the better because of you when they like leave out of your life, like when they step away and or maybe it just dissolves because who knows why, you just kind of slowly start disconnecting and then the phone calls stop, the text messages stop. Those are the relationships for me that like there was never any bad blood and then there was never any negativity from it. And I'm only a better person because of them, but maybe I can't even identify why in
Mhm.
there. But like they walked me through a season that was really hard, or they were there, when things got tricky. Like, I have one old friend who, I mean, you and your husband were part of this too, but in 2014, when I lost my grandmother, before she passed away, I was ready to move back to Maine. And, I had friends rallying around, and half of them I don't even talk to anymore, that were ready to come up or come down to Florida and bring me back. And finally, when my grandmother did pass away, and I finally felt like, okay, this is the time. That was right. I had two friends fly to Florida and help me pack my bags and load my car. And one of them drove back up with me, and like I couldn't have done it without them in that season. And one of them walked through, probably, I would say, like, I've had probably three really dark seasons in my life that were really hard.
Mm.
And when I moved back up here, that was probably one of the darkest times, and no one really knew that it was one of the darkest times, that I walked through, but her. And it was just moving, not being able to find a job. There were days before I found a job that I would lay in my bed all day and I would sleep the day away, and I wouldn't come out of my bedroom. And she would come over and she would pack up my stuff for the shower, and she would go run the hot water, and I would go take a bath. And she would help me fill out job applications and just stuff that, like, I had no motivation to do because I was walking through a really hard season. And I talked about it a little bit, but when my grandmother passed away, it was a season of depression, shame, guilt. I blamed myself for a lot of stuff that happened during that time, that I didn't need to blame myself for, but I did. And I hadn't found therapy yet because I didn't have insurance. And but this person, she made sure she would text me almost every day, "Have you eaten yet? All right, I'm headed over. I have this for you." And like really just made sure I was taking care of myself. And so, like, those are the moments that I'm thankful for. And has that friendship dissolved over the years or changed or looks different? Sure. But they made sure, and they were someone who anticipated what I was going through without me even really having to say it. But they also spent 24 hours in a car with me through from Florida to Maine, and heard a lot of the silent tears, while I thought they were sleeping and I was crying. So they knew that it was going to be a hard transition back for me. And they just really stepped up to the plate silently without saying that that's what they were doing.
That's really powerful because a lot of times those are the moments that we need people the most. And sometimes that ministry of presence, right? Like just showing
Mhm.
up for people in the hard times is when we really see who's there for us.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you had that in that season because that was necessary. Like you needed that. And that was so good. I also had a friend. I wasn't like walking through a dark season or anything, but I had a really, really good friend when I was like a freshman in high school, freshman, sophomore. She was a couple of years older than me, but at the time, she was one of my dearest and closest friends. And again, like you said, it wasn't anything bad that happened. I think we just kind of drifted because lifestyles and schedules just kind of happen. And I still consider her a very dear friend to this day. We haven't talked in a long time, but I always wish her well, like when I think of her and stuff. But um, we always had such great conversations, and we would sit in her car for hours and just talk and share our hearts and our dreams and our hopes. And sometimes we would just be crying about stuff and like encouraging each other and being sad together. And those conversations carried me through a lot because high school wasn't easy. And I don't know that it was easy for many of us, but um, I just really appreciated her coming out. And like I didn't live very close to where everybody else did. Like it's Maine, right? So like we drove 30 minutes into church and our town was 30 minutes away, but she would come and get me or drop me off and hang out with me that way. And we always just had like the best time, like hanging out in the car and or going to an event at church together and afterwards like talking about all the things. And we ended up being when I went to college, she ended up working at the college that I was at. um, she ended up being on staff while I was there, so I still got to see her into my college years. And I would sneak over and like hang out with her. She would bring me to her apartment sometimes. And those are some of the memories that I cherish the most. And she left a lasting impact on my life. And um even though like there isn't always closure to like why things shift, it's still with fondness. And
Mm.
like how she showed up, like she threw me a little birthday party at her apartment when I turned 18, because um I turned 18 when I was in college. And so like those were the moments that like meant the world to me, because she was a real true friend, and we did a lot of life together for many years, and I'll always treasure it.
Yeah. No, that's so special. I love those type of friendships. Like after my grandmother died, another friend of mine and we still stay connected, but we're certainly not I would say as close as we used to be. But she and like I've realized over the years how much I valued this because now that she's lives in a different state, it's just not the same. But when I moved up here for at least the first 8 years of that, she made sure that my birthday was special. And the background story of that is I buried my grandmother on my birthday, who was my best friend. You know, my Nana was like my rock and everything. And so burying her on my birthday was kind of like a drag on that side of things. And so she always just made sure, whether it was a surprise party for my 30th birthday and an overnight trip to Cape Cod, like we always just did something, and she always made it a big deal, so that I wasn't left just kind of hanging out on my birthday, which was just really, I don't know, for me, it was just really special because she knew that that was a hard day for me. And even to this day, she makes sure to call on that day or text. And she always asks, did anybody do anything special for you today? Because she knows that that is probably one of the hardest days. Like, I don't know if whoever watches Gilmore Girls that listens to us, but there's an episode where Luke, he has what he calls his dark day and he goes fishing because it's the day that his dad died. That's what I consider my birthday is kind of like my dark day. And so if I'm not doing anything that day, I feel sulky and I just kind of like stay in my moment. And it's been 10 plus years, but it still is just kind of a heavy day. And so I find that people who can love like that and just have such good um, memory to do that, first of all, because I have the worst memory in the world, but also go out of their way to show up for people is such a special trait because not everyone is good at it. I'm not great at it. And I really admire that um, about those type of people. And so because of them, am aware that I'm bad at it, but also makes me want to be better at it too.
Yeah, I get that, because just like we receive love in different ways, we also give love in different ways. And I'm guilty of always like comparing when someone's a really great gift giver. And I've had friends over the years, and I still have friends now that are great gift givers. And I always feel terrible because I either forget that their birthday's coming, so I'm like scrambling, or I second guess myself. And so then I just like give them, whatever. And I love that they're great gift givers because I love receiving gifts. But it's like it's one of those like dual things, right? But
Yes.
having people in our lives that can um, meet those needs in our hearts, and also being willing to just be okay with the fact that some people are really great gift givers and we're not, and that's okay because we're
Yeah.
meeting a different need, and that's okay.
Yeah. No. And then I think about the people that maybe impacted us negatively, but we're better because of it. Like I've learned the type of person that I want to be in my career because of some really not so great bosses over the years. When I worked in Florida, I had one boss who was so condescending. I worked for like 8 months at this nursing home, and I'll never forget. She would ask you like the dumbest questions, but not really to her. She was all sophisticated about it. But like, for instance, one time she said, you could use an indelible marker on this. And she goes, do you know what indelible means? And that's how she would talk to you. And yeah, it's a permanent marker. Thanks. But you had to use the word indelible. Got it. You're so smart and so and fancy. But I just remembered like if I was ever in a place of leadership or supervisory, like I don't want
Mhm.
to talk to anyone like that because the amount of times. But she also had a really sweet side too. Like I hit a deer and then she bought me deer headlight like things for my car. And so like she had a sweet side, but
Right.
her training side just sometimes or like she asked Do you know what a plasticizer is? Yeah, it's a laminator. That's what normal people call it. And so, um, but and it was just always the tone and things like that.
Yeah.
And I remember being in a staff meeting, one of our girls was going through some health stuff at the time, and she, like, laid it all on the table in the middle of the staff meeting, and this poor girl, she's going over how much weight the girl has gained working, and I'm like, "I'm sure, I am 100% sure that she didn't want that." And also, like, we work in a nursing home where HIPAA is a big deal. Like, we don't talk about people's personal lives as a general rule of thumb. So, like,
So
not that
like
this
Barb,
weight gain is a HIPAA violation, but like also, like, probably she doesn't want that spread around the nursing home with all the staff. So it was just a very interesting place to be. And I hated it, but I came out better because of it. I knew a lot of things that I didn't want in my career or who I wanted to be because of
yeah,
her.
yes. I have been in similar scenarios, or like, have you ever been in like one of those like retirement party things where they're like, giving praises to the person that's retiring, and they're like, and you were like this, and I felt this way when you were in the room, and like that kind of thing. And I've been in
Yes.
those moments where I've heard those things said of other people with like a big group around, and it always makes me reflect and think, what do I want them to say when I'm not here
Mhm.
anymore? Like, what kind of mark did I leave in this space that I'm in? And would it be positive and uplifting and everyone is happy? Or is it like one of those awkward people are just kind of like, well, thanks. It's been fun,
Yeah.
because like there's those parties that happen and everyone just kind of like, so when is this over? Because they
Yeah.
don't have either a good relationship with the person, or the person wasn't kind, or you can fill in that blank with whatever. And those are the moments when I'm like very reflective on how am I treating the people that I'm surrounded by, because I've been in job scenarios and different seasons of life where you do look at the things that you see around you and you're like, not taking that with me.
Mhm.
I don't want that to be said when I'm not in the room, right? And that one
Yes.
is a hard one because it's easy to get caught up in things that you don't want to be caught up in.
Yeah.
And just learning to like observe what people do and then take the good and toss the rest.
Get the heck out of there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I've definitely been in those scenarios where I've sat in rooms and sat at tables that I wish I'd never sat at. But at the same time, I go back to I sat at those tables, I heard what I heard, I said what I said, and I learned to be better because of them. Because
Mhm.
I didn't like the personality traits or I didn't like the common theme that was going around the
Right.
table, and I wanted to break the mold of what that looked like. And it does affect you, and you can choose to be better because of it, or you can choose to adapt those personality traits, and make them your own. There's a story that goes around the internet about like two boys who grew up in the same home, and one it's a rough home, like they grow up in a rough home, and one becomes a lawyer and one goes to jail essentially. And it's like two homes or two people, different perspectives. Um, and I think that in any relationship that we're in, that can be very much the same, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
um, you can either take the negative from it and become that and adapt that, because let's be honest, when we're hurt and whenever we experience bad, it's easy to kind of put this hard wall up and say, well, this is the way it is and this is how I'm going to be, because they hurt me or this bothered me or they walked away and didn't tell me why. Like, you could just harden your heart towards those things and adapt the negativity into your life and let it ooze out of you. Or you can say, I didn't like the way that that felt, and I never want to feel that way again. And I never want anyone to be in my presence to feel that way again. So I'm going to work hard to not, and allow it to soften your heart and allow it to change how you do life for the better.
I don't think I could say it any better. Like you nailed it. And it's true though. Like I've alluded to this before, but there was a season of my life that was really hard and really dark, um, because of the things that were said about me and all of that. And walking through it, I was so angry because I get angry when things aren't just, right? Like, don't say things that aren't true. That makes me angry. And so when you live in that kind of state um,
Yeah.
for months and months and months, it was starting to set in my heart.
Mm,
And it got really scary because I'm not an angry person. I never really have been angry as like a default. Like, that's not who I am. But the turning point was when a friend of ours said to my husband, like, is she okay? Because she seems really angry lately. And I was like, okay, that's enough. Like, I need to figure this out.
yeah.
Because like they understood because they were also in it with us. So like they understood why I was the way that I was, but it didn't mean that it was okay.
Yeah.
And so to have someone like call it out, it also put me in check. Like, wait a second. I
Yeah.
don't want this to take root in my heart because I don't want to live angry for the rest of my life. I don't want the things that I say and how I treat people coming out of a place of anger.
Mm,
And so I had to let it go. And it didn't change the scenario and it didn't change the outcome of the scenario, but at least I can say that I'm not an angry person.
mhm.
And because of that, I did walk away better, and it hurt, and there's still things that I'm unpacking, and it's been a while, right? Um, but I can say that I walked away knowing how I want to be treated and how I want to treat other people. And like you said, like those are not the things that I want to experience. And I don't want to ever put anybody else through that. And so I, with the help of the Lord, I'll do my best to live in a place of surrender and joy and not focus on what I can't control. Because all I can control is how I respond. And how other people respond is on them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree 100%. I think that through this whole conversation, my biggest takeaway is that we truly have the opportunity to make other people better, and they have the opportunity to make us better just by knowing one another and just by being our true authentic selves with each other
Hmm.
and sharing life together. And even when those relationships fizzle out and even when they hurt, we can still find the good inside of it, and we can still move forward with that. I think that we both can say that we've had friendships over the years that have just fizzled out, and we've left with that big, giant question mark of why. And sure, that hurts. But I know that we both can say, like, those relationships impacted us maybe the most in some way, and poured into us in different ways to make us who we are today. And so, for those friendships, I'm so grateful for, because I know I wouldn't be the woman that I am today if I hadn't met those people along the way.
And I would just like piggyback off of that and say, like, on the flip side, not only do people leave an impact on us, but what kind of impact do we want to leave on the people around us? So that
Mm.
when we're not in the room or we're not in the friendship anymore, can they take away something good? Did we leave a good impact on the people behind us? And that they can say in their own relationships and in their own life, well, we might not be friends anymore, but because of them, I am better.
That's a wrap on this episode of Two Maine Friends in a Podcast. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram. You can also send us an email at twomainfriends@gmail.com. And as always, leave us a review wherever you're listening.